Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. Hey, this is Juanita. I'm just heading into work as always, and I'm going to be sharing today about both sides of my family, my mother and my father's parents, and the reason why I'm sharing it. So stay tuned for that story. For now, I'm going to go get my coffee. I'm going to get some work done as I always do in the morning. Then I'm going to meet you guys on the first floor in seconds flash. Okay, see you soon. Okay, you guys, well, we're on the first floor as always, and hope you have your tennis shoes on. I'm going to be walking with me. So, and if you're not, I hope you are enjoying my story, and so I'm going to get started. Today, I'm going to talk about my grandparents. Now, I've talked about my grandparents before, but this is a whole different story. And the reason why I'm sharing it is because I learned a lot from both sides of my family. But I primarily wanted to talk about my grandfather. So I'm going to start off with my grandmother and my mother's side. And the reason why I'm not sharing about my grandfather on my mother's side is because I never met him. I pretty much was born at the time that he died. And so, but I learned a few things about him. So I guess maybe I should talk about that. Well, I learned that he was an entrepreneur, and that I guess at the time he called them sheep peddler or sheepskin peddlers. But that's about the extent of what I really know about him. But maybe that's why I'm an entrepreneur as well, or tend to be an entrepreneur, is because that part is just ingrained in me, between my grandfather, my father, and his father, and my mother. My grandmother, I think back in those days, you did whatever you could to survive. But I'll talk about my grandmother Frances. She was a beautiful woman. She made castle soap, and I tell you, it stunk. I didn't like it. But she tried to teach me, and I just couldn't get the gist of it. And she tried to teach me how to crochet and knit, because I was always in awe of her crocheting things. She always used to do like these doilies and these dresses for Barbie dolls that you stuck on top of toilet paper. And I just loved them. And so she tried doing that, but I didn't quite catch on. I mean, I was pretty young, but I loved that woman. I used to stay with her a lot, and she would take me shopping. Now, in my days when I was younger, now maybe not every family was like this, but we grew up where we really could not wear short dresses, but I wanted a short dress. So my grandmother would take me shopping, and she'd buy me these short dresses. I'm sure it was not in her favor, but she liked shopping, so she spoiled me. Unfortunately, I'd take them home, and my mother would say, "Those are just too short for you." And she'd give them away to my sisters, my younger sisters. So, needless to say, I was disappointed, and I would just go ahead and never tell her when grandmother would buy me other dresses. I'd hide them. And now on my father's side, the reason why I'm talking about them is primarily because my grandmother, she was like this 4'9", 4'10", or 4'11" tall woman, very borderline mean, if you want to call it that. she was just very old-fashioned, really. That's really what it boiled down to. Then I was living and finished my story. And yeah, she was this woman, set in her ways, very old-fashioned. You don't wear hats in the house. You wipe your feet when you come in. And women and men did not mix in entertainment. Women were in the kitchen, men were in the living room, smoking their cigarettes, cigars, and drinking their whiskeys. And I was a daddy's girl. I wasn't gonna have that. I went to meet with my father. Now I'm not gonna go in depth about that story because I already did that story. But my grandfather, the reason why I'm bringing that up is because my grandfather now, what I got out of him, obviously I didn't get much out of my grandma, but out of my grandfather, he was a sweetheart to me. And I loved my grandfather. He had the best bedside manner. He was, I don't know, really positive all the time. He always went for walks, and he taught me. And I do mention this in another video, but I'm going to repeat myself. But he taught me to live life for a long time by getting out, getting up, and getting outdoors as much as possible, even if it was for 10 minutes to a half-hour walk every day. And that was his secret. Now him and my grandmother from my father's side both lived to be almost 100 years old. They were very short of 100 years old. And my grandfather died with a great sense of humor. And so I only pray that I will face death with a great sense of humor. And but I tell you, as much as my grandmother was just really finicky woman, my grandfather doted over that woman. He loved her from the time he married her to the time that he passed away. When my grandfather, well, let me back up a little bit. My grandmother got hurt. She hurt her leg, and so she went into the hospital. Well, the hospital in Colorado, in the San Antonio, or actually the Conejos County area, the nursing home and the hospital are one and the same. And so when she got put in there, my grandfather was like devastated of the separation, and he ended up getting ill and ultimately dying. But before he died, he got put in the same room as my grandmother. And he sat there. He sat in a chair next to my grandmother. My grandmother's old-fashioned, right? So he's like holding her hand, and she's like pulling it away, like, what are you doing? There's people here. We don't do this. But he just was like, I don't care. You are my wife. And he just looked at her and looked into her eyes, and he says, you are beautiful. You are beautiful from the moment I saw you, and you're still beautiful. And I loved you then as much as I love you now. And me and my sister were watching this, and we're just like, oh my God, how blessed can we be to be witnessing this? And he gave her a kiss, and we've never seen open public affection with them. So to see that was an honor. And but anyway, he ultimately passed away, and I miss him a lot. Now, when he passed away, he was so loved that when he passed away and we were going on the perception, well, before he passed away, well, let me back up a little bit. I'm kind of getting scattered here. But when he passed away and we had his service, his funeral service, it was like standing room only. I mean, there was so many people. There was probably over 350 people in the community, family and friends, mainly family, but that were just even standing outside. And then when we went on the procession, heading to bury him, there was this white bald eagle up on top of a tree. And it just, to me, represented my grandfather. Now, I didn't shed tears with my grandfather because I was in awe more than in sorrow of seeing how loved he was. And seeing the people on the burial site. I mean, I'd looked around and I was just like, my God, he was really, really loved. And so anyway, when the sermon, the priest finished his sermon and everybody threw their roses and a clump of dirt onto grandfather for our last wishes with him and to say goodbye, this bald eagle just flew right over. And I was just going, that's Grandpa. He was the head of the household. And it was just like him. And so I felt even more honored about that. So anyway, as you can tell, I really, really loved him. And I do miss him. And I miss my grandmother in my mother's side a lot because I did stay with her quite often, and I was devastated when she passed. And so, and not to say that I don't love my grandmother from my father's side. I admired a lot about her, and I learned a lot too. So she'll be missed too. There's a lot of moments there as well, but primarily the other two stand out more for me. So anyway, with that being said, I gotta get back to work and finish my day. Thank you for listening. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share it with your friends and family. But more importantly, like my grandfather said, get up, get out, and get healthy. Go for a walk, even if it's just for 10 to a half hour. It'll make you live for a long, long time. Okay. Love you all. See you soon. On the first floor tomorrow.